Welcome to the Office Latte Podcast, where we go beyond the boardroom to explore new conversations on life and career. I'm Erin Kennedy, CEO of Professional Resume Services, and wife, mother, sister, daughter, aunt, and friend. Now, let's dive in. Hello, Summer.
Hey, Erin, how's it going?
It is going great. It's March, coming in like a lion, and we just got more snow, so that's always thrilling.
It's always snowing.
It's always snowing here in Michigan. It's just, it's the regular thing. But I wanted to talk about our next guest.
Yes.
She is a fellow coach, but I like what she's a career coach, but she really focuses on limiting beliefs and how they affect job seekers, because they do. Really, we know negative thoughts and limiting beliefs can really hinder everything in our life. Especially job search.
Yeah.
So I don't know how you felt when you were job searching, but it's a struggle.
It's a struggle.
And then adding, self-limiting or negative beliefs on top of that, it's just 10 times worse.
Yeah, no, I think in every phase of the job search, whether you're searching for a job or whether you're in a job but you want a promotion or whatever it is, or you own your own business like us, you have to have a good mindset around it. And I think mindset, limiting beliefs, confidence coaching, all of those things are vital honestly, if you want to be successful. You have to work through those blocks in order to overcome, your fears really is the core of it, but to reach your goals, in my opinion.
So Michelle Schafer is her name, and she's an ICF-certified coach, author, and facilitator specializing in career transition and leadership. She is the owner and founder of Michelle Schafer Coaching, empowering people to navigate career transitions with confidence. Michelle is passionate about people and inspired by their progress, working with clients at all levels of an organization and across sectors, including federal and municipal government, high tech, nonprofit, and financial services. So she does one-on-one coaching, she does group coaching, and she has a #1 best-selling book called Cultivating Career Growth, Navigating Transitions with Purpose. One more thing. She was also recently recognized as one of Ottawa's top coaches of 2024.
I love that.
I know. So I'm ready to dive in if you are.
Oh yeah, let's do it.
All right, Michelle.
Hi, Erin. Thank you so much for having me today.
Yes. I was so excited to talk to you, especially after we met on LinkedIn. And and you have a book out. I mean, you're pretty cool.
Oh, you know what? Cool. I mean, it's interesting. I mean, we're in a time, as you know, where there's just a lot of transition. There's a lot of transition in the marketplace, and people are looking to credible information, credible sources, frameworks, and things that will help them as they look for their next job. So my book is one of those sources, and was really excited to write it and birth it out into the world.
So is that the main reason why and what's the name of the book? Can you hold it up for us?
Absolutely. I've got it right here. So it's called, yay! It's called Cultivating Career Growth, Navigating Transitions with Purpose. And it's really geared for individuals who are gainfully employed. Maybe they're not really loving what they're doing anymore and want to find something new, but don't know how to go about it. But my book is also geared to those individuals who have maybe found themselves thrust into the job market because of restructuring or other reasons, and they need to find a job really quickly. So, I wrote the book because I've gone through restructuring myself. I've actually been restructured twice. That's what led me to coaching. And I wanted to offer people a playbook of sorts, a system, some frameworks, some resources that would help them really from the reflection stage, figuring out what's important to them, right to developing a job search plan, marketing themselves, preparing for interviews, all of that good stuff. And my book is, part book in that it gives strategies and tips, but it's a workbook. You can actually make notes and create your own job search plan. Yeah.
I love notes. I love notes. I love workbooks.
It's both.
It helps me learn better. To me, it helps me learn. I don't know about you, but I'm sure it does if you created that.
Totally.
For that reason. Yeah.
Well, and I find too, and you probably find this as well, when you're working with clients, if people are embarking on a job search and all of the stuff is in their head, like they want to do certain things, but they don't really have a plan, it's until you write it down. When you write it down, you're committing to it. It's becoming real. And that's why I offered all of those spaces in my book is like, write it down, make it real, take your goals and make them not just wishes, but actual things that you're committing to.
Yeah, I love that. And I'm just a firm believer. I think that there's something to writing it down. It just, I don't know, helps sink in or something.
It does. Well, it crystallizes it and you can go back to it. You know, when you're committing to yourself, you can go back to that plan and say, oh yeah, these were things that I was going to do. Like, where am I in my plan? It just helps you take steps and move forward. And for somebody who's experienced job loss, which is painful and can spin you into a total tailspin, especially if you didn't see it coming, having that kind of action plan can be a guide. It gives you an idea of what to do next. And that can offer some comfort in a really uncomfortable, like very overwhelming time.
So let's dive into the book a little bit because there's a bunch of stuff I want to ask you about. But specific to the book, in what specific ways can your book help job seekers?
Yeah, that's a great question. So picking up my book and going through, especially like doing the reflections and, kind of going through the activities, it will give you some clarity. Oftentimes when people are picking up my book, they have no idea what they want to do next. And so going through the reflection questions and starting to like do some research, research through conversation, which is like, one-on-one networking, but even just research online can give you some clarity of what those next career options might be for yourself. And then the other thing that the book offers is just the ability to create a concrete plan for yourself, market yourself, and really participate in all of the activities needed to look for work. So it's really there to give you the structure, the support. I tell a lot of client stories as well in my book. And so there's a lot of, there's a lot of illustration of where people were in their job search and how the strategies that I talk about really help them. So people walk away with a plan, which is really supportive for them.
Yeah, I was going to say, and when you were talking about stories, to me, stories make you feel like you're not the only one doing this. You're not alone in this. When you have these stories in the book and this person went through this and this is what they did, it's kind of like, oh, okay.
It all
they
makes
survived
sense.
it. I can survive it too. Yeah.
It's true. Well, and one of the chapters in my book is devoted to navigating those, I'm going to say like complex and difficult emotions, frustration and overwhelm that comes with, looking for work, even like for somebody who has experienced job loss, like being able to do things like process the loss, realize that it's not personal, it's a business decision, and how you can frame that when you're talking to other people about things that you want to do next. Like there's such a wide spectrum of emotions. Some of them are like that frustration and overwhelm, but then there's other like really positive emotions that are, realizing, hey, this is a gift. Like I really didn't like what I was doing before anyway. And now I'm given this opportunity to do something new. There's hope and there's excitement and there's possibility that comes with it. And so my book captures how to navigate that wide spectrum of emotions that comes with exploring a new path.
And I like how you bring that up. Like a lot of times, I know when I was laid off from a job and I was devastated. But it was such a blessing because I wouldn't have quit myself because I was young, I was single, I was supporting myself, living alone. And there's no way I would have quit, but it was the best thing for me. It was just such a blessing in disguise.
Well,
I really
in the
wish
moment it's hard to see that.
It's hard, but I wish there were resources like this in your book and you as a coach back then. I won't say how far back because I don't want to really age myself. We'll say it's a long time, long time.
Well, and what's really interesting is, as a career coach that specializes in career transition, because I've gone through the experience, and you've gone through the experience, I would say just about every career coach that I've ever interfaced with has gone through the experience of losing a job. It makes me credible, like writing this book makes me credible because I have gone through the experience. And it's not
Right.
to say that my experience is exactly the same as somebody else's. Everybody's experience is going to be different. But
Right.
just knowing the wide berth of emotions that come with it. I mean, job loss affects you in a physical way. It affects you mentally. It affects you emotionally. And just being able to navigate through all that is something I have experience with. But then I think too, like, as a career coach and somebody who's written this book, I'm also an example of the hope. So, yes, you can navigate really tough things and you can be okay. And you can come out even stronger on the other end, possibly even finding something that was more fulfilling for you on the other end than what you were doing before. And
That is the hope.
incredible.
That really is the
Yeah.
hope that you
Yeah.
find something even better. I don't know about you, but I find that with most of my clients, the next job after the devastating loss of the job that they were at usually turns out to be even better.
It does.
I just am a firm believer in that too. I always think there's always something better waiting for us.
Well,
but
and it's a cliche when you hear when one door closes, another one
Another
opens. It is a
opens.
cliche.
Mhm.
And yet I see it time and time again with
Yeah.
a lot of my clients. And to see that not only are they going to something better, but it's like completely different in some cases. Like some of my clients do a total pivot. Like one of my clients, I remember in the height of the early days, really, of the pandemic, he had a restaurant and he was in the restaurant business forever. Like he remembers waiting tables when he was a kid.
Yeah.
And his family is in the business too. And he made the tough decision to sell his restaurant because in COVID, I mean, COVID was
Right,
not
COVID.
good to hospitality.
Right.
But he
Yeah.
was wondering, well, what do I do? Well, I mean, he had so many transferable skills that were very portable to other things. And he ended up going into, project management and construction, which you think,
Really?
owning a restaurant, project
was gonna-
management, like really
yeah.
different. And yet it leveraged all of his transferable skills to get him there. And he was able to
That's
achieve
cool.
a balance that he couldn't achieve before. Like he had a young family. He didn't want to work the grind of having the restaurant anymore,
Yeah,
like all the
nights, weekends,
time.
all the time. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So he was able to, he took stock of what was important to him and his transferable skills. And through the work that we did together, like he could market himself with those skill sets. And he was able to find work that really honored his non-negotiables, like those things that are so deeply important that,
Like time.
you walk away otherwise.
Yeah. Like time, you can never get it back.
No,
You
you
really can never get it
can't.
back. I know.
And so many people stick it out in jobs that they hate, that don't honor those non-negotiables. Maybe even they stick it out in jobs where they're not even doing the work that gives them energy anymore. They stick it out in jobs where they're working for organizations that clearly don't believe the same things that they believe in anymore. Maybe they once did, but they don't now. And life is too short. Life is too short to stick it out in jobs that really like cause us to be sick or cause us to dread Mondays and all of that.
I know. And it really is figuring out what your non-negotiables are and the quality of life you want.
Absolutely. Yeah. When you become really clear on that, then you can intentionally seek out those opportunities that meet that. And then it really becomes the difference from running away from what you have. I see a lot of people do that. It's like, oh, I just got to get out of what I'm doing. Anything else will be fine, except that. Then they take the first thing that jumps in front of their path and they realize, hold on, the grass is not greener on the other side. In fact, it's really burnt. And they didn't know it until they started. So take stock of what's important to you, intentionally seek out what's, what will line up to that. And then it's less about running away from what you have and more about running to an opportunity of really great fit.
Yeah. That makes so much sense.
So much to unpack, right?
I know. I always think everybody should, fresh out of college, should have some sort of coaching. We try to build it into every single one of our packages.
Yeah.
Just because it's so important, learning those
It really
things.
is.
Maybe you learn it more as you get older, but because you know how
It's hard
your priorities
even
change.
as we get older. Yeah, I mean, it still can be a really tough lesson. So, I
Yeah.
mean, like to your point, yeah, start early with, really taking stock of things. And
Yeah.
the more you build like career development into your day-to-day, like you don't have to wait until you lose your job. You can always take stock of what's important to you and kind of hold it up against what you're doing and seeing like what's aligned, but where are there big disconnects, and
Yeah.
the red flags are those disconnects. They're signs that maybe we need to do something about that. Maybe we need to make a big choice.
Yeah. Yeah. So, okay. So writing a book, what did you learn about yourself as you went
Mm.
through this publishing process? I mean, it just seems so grueling to me. Oh, just seems so hard. Whenever I hear anybody saying, "Oh, I'm thinking about writing a book," I'm like, why? I don't know why.
I hear you, Erin. Oh my gosh. That was me. That was me a few years ago. Why would I want to do this? And I mean,
Yeah.
it's funny because, my partner has been saying for a while, like, you've got a few books in you. And at the time I said, what am I going to say? Like, what would I honestly say that people would pay attention to and want to actually buy? And I think
That's what I think too. I'm like, what do I have to say? Yeah.
and yet, I mean, like for you, like you're on LinkedIn all the time, you're sharing insights and learnings all the time.
Right.
I think the biggest thing that I did realize about myself through going through this process is, not only do I have a lot to share with the world, but people need what I'm sharing. And I've seen that time and time again, especially since now my book is out and it's on Amazon and you can grab it on Amazon, which is amazing.
You're on
that it's out
Amazon. That is
there.
so cool.
Out there. It actually hit #1 in all 3 categories that it was listed in
amazing,
when it came
Michelle.
out.
That is amazing. That is
Lots to be
amazing.
proud of there. But and it's neat now that the book is out and people are picking it up. And so people are feeding me, what they're thinking about as they're going through it and how it's helping them. And I realize this book does come at a really good time. Like there's a lot of churn in the job market and people need supportive resources. And, and so I realized not only did I have a lot to share, but what I'm sharing is valuable to people. Like, and people are saying, oh my gosh, like I read your book and I feel like I've just been coached by you. Like, it's just, they can hear my voice and those like clear learnings and thought-provoking questions that are helping them to take action. So, the actual writing, I'll be honest, was the easy part. But I mean, as part of writing a book, there's editing and then there's marketing.
I was going to ask.
Oh,
my
that
goodness.
was like a lot. Now,
That's a lot.
have a big shout out to give to my publisher, Larissa Sohn from Next Page Publishing.
Wait, what's the name of the publishing company?
It's Next Page Publishing.
Okay.
They were awesome. So, they gave me a book coach. Her name is Amy Vogel. Amy, like, if you're listening to this when it comes out, like, you did so much to help me keep going. And I mean, not only give me the motivation.
It's important to have somebody there kind of pushing you. Yeah.
Yeah. And
I didn't even know there was such a thing. She's a book coach?
She's a book coach. She helps people get their book out into the world and like write those chapters. And she gave me such, incredibly specific feedback that just made my writing a lot better. But the one thing that she gave to me, and this was golden, she just said, like make a practice of writing, which means don't wait until the perfect opportunity. Like just sit down and start writing. Write something every single day. And, that really helped because I found I was able to write a chapter a week based on that practice. And I just kept going. I didn't just wait until all of the, everything was aligned. I'd sit down with my computer and say, okay, what am I going to write about here? And I'd think about those client stories and those experiences. And that helps so much just to keep things on track. It was structured. And that regular practice of writing is honestly what got me through.
How long did it take you?
So the entire end-to-end process was a year. So it was a full 12 months and starting right from who am I writing this book for? Like getting really clear on who my target audience is. And then what my outline of my book was. And I'll be honest, I took all of my posts from LinkedIn and I pasted them into a document. And then I saw where all the themes emerged. And then my outline it just appeared from there. Like I realized I'm writing on some core topics that
Yeah.
are really meant to help job seekers. So I put together my outline and then I started writing. And so the
Wow.
actual writing was less than 5 months. It was
Yeah.
about 4.5 months. And then the remaining time was 5 rounds of editing, getting some early like people to review my book, developing the marketing graphics to get out there, getting
Very
it on
interesting.
Amazon.
Very
All the
interesting. Yeah,
stuff,
that's so cool. That's so
the
cool.
process.
Okay, now I want to get into some topics that I really, really like and that I have myself or have had in the past, when
Yeah.
job searching. Job seekers and limiting beliefs. Ah,
Big topic, right?
huge topic. Huge topic. So, first, for those of you out there, if there are any people out there who don't have limiting beliefs, I want to meet you. I want to meet you. I want to know you.
Everybody has them.
Everybody has them. So,
Yeah.
explain what a limiting belief is.
Sure. I mean, really, like briefly, a limiting belief is an assumption or a judgment that you make about like a process, a thing, a person that stands in your way of doing something. So if we put it in the context of a job search,
Yeah.
it's an assumption that we have about being in a job search, maybe some of the activities that are needed in a job search that causes us to throw up roadblocks to ourselves.
Yes.
We think, oh, I can't do that. Or, oh, that's not for me. And then we just don't do them, which
I'm not
stands in
good
our
enough.
way.
Yeah.
I'm not good enough.
I'm
Yeah.
not good enough. Oh my
That's
gosh.
a massive one.
It's huge. It just keeps, yeah, I know.
We could unpack that for an hour, right,
I
Erin?
know. Let's go. Okay. So, yeah, because it is huge. And I mean, you're like me. I mean, we hear it every day.
We
Even
do.
from our executive clients who aren't 100% sure if they would be a fit for this role. I'm like, you've been doing this. You are a fit.
Exactly.
Well, I don't know. And I'm, oh my goodness.
Well, a big limiting belief there is, oh, I'm too old to apply for this. They're never going to accept
yeah.
me because, I've got like 25 plus years experience. They're probably looking for somebody younger. Like as soon as we say should or probably or I think, those are all limiting beliefs because none of those things are actually relating to facts. They're like we tell ourselves these things. We have a narrative and that story in our head. We get in our own way time and time again, and you see it and I see it in the context of a job search. There's so many things that people don't do because they think they can't or they don't have the right tools and they don't try, and that means they don't get too far.
What are the top 3 limiting beliefs that you hear? I mean, I know my one, I know we talked about like, I'm not good enough or I can't, or I'm too old. What other ones are big ones for you?
Yeah. I mean, some ones that I hear, and this is especially relating to reaching out to people to have one-on-one conversations and do some networking. I mean, both of us know networking as an activity in a job search comprises like 80% or more really of the work to try to find your next job.
And it can be hard if you don't have that personality to go out there and do it. Not everybody does, Yeah.
And so what some people will tell themselves is, well, I can't reach out because, people are too busy. They're too busy and they're not going to say yes. And like, I don't want to bother them. So if you have that limiting belief, you're not going to do anything. And I mean, the reframing of that, like how you can kind of find a way in with that one is telling yourself, people actually do want to help. They just need to know how they can help. They need to be asked. So, if somebody says no or they ghost you, you're no further behind, but you could be very far ahead. So I'd say that one comes up big as number one. I don't want to bug people.
And it is a hard one. I get it.
It's a really hard one.
Yeah.
And yet the truth of it is people do want to help. And how I reframe that one with clients when they say,
Yeah.
oh, I don't want to ask, I say, okay, so let's turn the tables now. So imagine you are back at your job and let's say you're I don't know, let's say you're a fundraiser for a hospital and somebody like approaches you, maybe it's a friend of a friend, and they say, oh, I'm interested in fundraising. Like, could you spend some time with me and just talk to me about like what education did you pursue and how did you get into this? I said, well, how would you respond when you're asked? And they said, well, of course I would help. And I say, so could it be possible that when you ask people this very question that they respond and they say, oh, yeah, of course they would. And I'm like, bingo. So that's a massive one to reframe that gives people a way in. The other one that I see, number 2, that comes up really prominently is this this feeling like you can't approach senior people. Like, I can't go to the CEO. I can't go to the executive director because, they're too senior. And again, they're too busy.
And I'm not. Yeah.
They don't know me.
Right.
So the way I reframe that with them is I say, well, yeah, they have a big title beside their name. But here's the reality. They are human. They have had to network extensively to get to where they are. And back to the people want to help. They just want to be asked. They fall into that category too. So I've seen this myself. That was one of my limiting beliefs, honestly, when I was looking for work. Like, I can't reach out to these people. And then when I did, I got so much out of it. In one case, I actually got a job because I did that. So
I always say they
happen.
put their pants on one leg at a time, just like you do.
Exactly. They're just people. So we need to just approach it that way. And then the third one I'd say that shows up, and I hear this a lot from people, especially if they're newer to a community. Maybe they're a newcomer, like I'm from Ottawa, Canada, like, newcomers to Canada, is I'll hear, well, I don't have a network, like I'm new to the city. I'm new to the country. I don't really know people. And, when I work with clients to brainstorm all the people in their network, they actually realize that their network is bigger than they think. Like, so let's say you have kids. So the parents at your kid's school or in your kids' activities, they're part of your network. People you met on a course that you took, they're in your network. Your new neighbor that you just met last week, they're in your network. So many people are in our network. And once we start to think about it, then we realize our network is big. And the other part of that is every single person in our immediate circle, like friends and family and all of that, if we look beyond each person, every person that we know knows probably hundreds of people. So, it's that idea of
Great point.
Looking through your network, which is something I got from a friend of mine in a networking workshop like years and years ago. He said, look through your network instead of at it, because when we tap into the friends of friends, not just our friends, we can get connected to so many opportunities. So yeah, those are the top 3. And there's a reframe for each one of them that will allow people to move forward.
I love that. So what strategies can job seekers take? I mean, I know you mentioned some, or what can they use to challenge and change these limiting beliefs? Like I said, I know I have some, and I'm like, Erin, this is stupid, but sometimes it's, just telling yourself it's stupid doesn't change it, What other suggestions do you have, besides, a couple of the ones you already mentioned? Any other good ones?
For sure. I mean, I'd say probably the biggest one is seek out some support. Like, talk to people that that have had to be in a job search. I mean, all of us have had to look for work at some point in our lives.
We've all been there.
Exactly. And like, talk to them about what strategies they use to get through some of these roadblocks. Talk to people, especially who have experienced some of these roadblocks themselves. So I find talking it through with people can be really helpful. Another approach is the try it out and see what happens approach. So I'll say to clients, so I said, just humor me. So just ask this person if you can have some time with them and like prepare for that. Like, there's obviously a lot of preparation that goes with it. Yeah. But I said, I'm just going to invite you to just try it out and see what happens. And when people do try it out, they realize, oh my gosh, people like, I actually had somebody that said yes. And now I have a conversation with them. Oh my gosh, like look what happens. So
Yeah.
sometimes people just have to experience what happens and the success that can come with it. But if we live in our limiting belief, we're just like putting a wall around ourselves and we're not even open to the possibilities. So
Yeah.
so I
Yeah.
try to just like crack open that door of possibility and just see what happens when people do try it out. I find those strategies oftentimes will help people move forward.
Well, good. Those are good ones.
Yeah.
Now, what about this? Can you discuss the role of social media in perpetuating limiting beliefs among job seekers?
Oh,
Boy,
gosh.
I mean, I know right off the bat, I always think like, well, they're here and they're doing this and I'm not. I mean, to me, that's a big one. Do you find that as well?
Yeah, I mean, people will, they'll look to stories that they're reading online
Yeah.
and they will then convince themselves, well, I can't do that. Like, yeah, somebody else did it, but I can't
Right.
possibly do that. So, I mean, there's a few things with that. I mean, limit your social media exposure is step number one. I mean, we can go, I call it the rabbit hole of rumination. We can
right.
jump into that rabbit hole. And
Yeah.
if it's a deep rabbit hole, like we're not getting out very easily. So limit your exposure. Also engage with those posts that show like what the challenge is, like people who say, yeah, I'm doing this, but you know what? This was uncomfortable. And yet I was okay. And I was able to do that. I find
Yeah.
that can be helpful too. The other thing is like when you read these stories, just ask yourself, well, what does this mean for me? What does it mean if I don't, if I
Smart.
don't,
Mhm.
reach out to people? What's that going to mean for my job search?
Right.
If I do reach out to people, even though it's
Right.
uncomfortable, what is it going to mean for my job
Yeah.
search? And, I find all of those things can be helpful. But yeah, like just avoiding, like acknowledge your feelings. It's
Yeah.
okay to say, you know what, like this whole topic of like reaching out makes me totally uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And yet I'm going to be okay. I can be
Yeah.
okay. That's sometimes a helpful reframe, is not to dismiss what we're feeling, but to think about what's one thing I can do, a baby step that will take
I
me
love
past
that.
that rabbit
I love
hole.
that. And baby steps are, easily digestible. Anybody, you
Yeah.
can do one small little thing. So kind of on that, we already kind of talked about it a little bit, but one of the questions I had is that how do you recommend job seekers deal with rejection without reinforcing negative self-beliefs?
I know.
Then it goes right back to, well, it must be because, self-limiting, whatever.
Yeah, it's a vicious circle, right?
It
Yeah, I
is.
reached out to somebody and they ghosted me, so therefore,
It must be
obviously
because,
nobody.
yeah,
Yeah.
it must
Well,
be
and it's
because of these
applying
things.
that blanket. Well, then nobody wants to help me.
Right.
Okay. Well, that's, is that accurate? Probably not. So,
Right.
is there rejection in a job search? Oh,
Always.
yes, like
Yeah.
so much. And so, in terms of how to process that and how to work with that, it's, first of all, acknowledge, you know what, that really sucks. Like that person wasn't able to help me, or I
Right.
followed up with them and they're still not
Right.
responding.
Yeah.
And also look beyond that to look at the rest of your network. Like, okay, one person wasn't able to help me, or didn't have time for me, but I have a lot of other people in my circle who would be willing to help me. So, remembering that one person doesn't represent your whole network.
Yeah.
They are one person in your network, which means you have other people to
Right.
rely on, to lean
Yeah.
into.
Yeah.
And just to really think about it in terms of, you know what, like this day was hard in my job search. Tomorrow is a new day, and recognizing that what happens on one day is not a perpetuating belief that carries forward to every day. It's just one day out of 365 days of the year.
Yeah. And one
Um,
person or one company or one job. Yeah. That's what I tell
yes.
clients. I'm like, it's just one recruiter that said no, or one job that said no. I mean, it doesn't mean it's all
Yeah.
of them. Yeah.
There's others. So, it can be really hard to pick yourself up, to put one foot in front of the other. And yet we need to put one foot in front of the other, like, and take a break from it if you need. Like sometimes for some people, they are just feeling, if it's been a long job search, and taking a lot longer than they were expecting, which oftentimes a job search will be longer than we expect it will last. But just take a break from it and commit to yourself how long you're going to take a break. Not you're taking a break indefinitely, but today's Tuesday. I'm going to take Wednesday away from my job search. I'm going to do something that feeds my soul, and then I'm going to get back to it the day after.
I love that. Yeah.
And the doing something that feeds your soul can especially help with rejection. Like looking for work is not meant to be a 24/7 activity at all.
And it's so disheartening, and it's so long. And like you said, if you've been in it forever, it is so depressing. It really is.
So every day, do something that is good for you, like something that has nothing to do with your job search, nothing to do with cleaning your house or going grocery shopping or the things that we have to do. Do something that maybe you can't do when you're working full time. Maybe it's sitting down and having a luxurious 30 minutes to read a book.
Yeah.
Maybe we don't get a chance to do that in the course of our days, but you can now. So, really honoring yourself and what you need, and, go for a walk with a friend, like talk to them about how hard your job search is, and just allow people to offer some assistance and a listening ear. And sometimes just venting it can be helpful to get it out of our system.
I agree. I was going to say, just having somebody there to vent to is sometimes just all you need.
For sure.
So how hard is it for job seekers to really maintain a positive mindset? I mean, I think like doing the things that you just said really, really help. I mean, I know I always say, do a little bit in the morning, and then like, especially if they're unemployed, do a little in the morning, an hour or two or whatever, and then do something else the rest of the day. But how do you maintain the positive mindset when you're going through that?
Yeah. I mean, it can be really, really hard. So, I mean, a couple of things that can be really helpful, especially in the face of rejection, just feeling discouraged. One is to remind yourself that like this sucks right now looking for work, and it seems to be taking a lot longer. But to remind yourself that this is not your forever place. You are not going to be unemployed forever. You are not going to be in a job search forever.
That's what I say too. Yeah.
Yeah. Like this, like the time for this will come to an end.
This is just a small amount of time that you're going to be unemployed. Yeah.
Yeah. So I find that can help. The other thing that can be really helpful, and this is something to do every day, is just count your wins. And when I say wins, some people just think, like a win is I got a job offer. Well, yeah, of course, that's like a massive win.
Right.
But look at the small wins. Like everything that you do in your job search is taking a step forward. So if you crafted a new achievement statement for your resume that clearly articulated the results and outcome of what it is that you did and your value, that's a win. If you sent an email to somebody new that you didn't know, but they are working for a company that is of interest to you and you want to talk to them, that is a win. If you practice an interview question and refined your response, that's a win. All of those individual smaller things are wins. So when we take stock of our wins over the course of every day, and I even recommend, especially to some of my clients who really struggle, I say keep a running log of them, keep a journal, post something on your wall, like by your computer or whatever, where you can glance up at that list and remind yourself that, you still, you might not have a job, but just tack on yet to the end of that. I don't have a job yet. And that can make all the difference in your mindset. You are moving in the right direction. Everything that you're doing is going to get you there. Keep doing what you're doing, and it will happen.
It will. I love this. Yeah, these are really, really excellent tips. And it's very uplifting, especially, some people, there's a lot of people that have been laid off lately, and these are excellent tips.
Yeah. I mean, everybody needs everybody needs not just like information that's going to help them, but, supportive structures and frameworks and strategies that are going to help. But especially we need our people to lift us up in those times where, we're having a really hard go of things.
Yeah.
And so like, for your listeners who are looking for work
Yeah.
and, maybe some of you have not shared with people in your circle that you're looking for work, tell them about it.
Yeah.
Let them help you.
Mhm.
And, even if they just listen to you and you can have a chance to just like unpack some things, that can be very helpful. So lean into the support, accept help, ask for help. Those are things that oftentimes we feel like we can't do. Like,
Yeah.
oh, I should just be able to manage this all on my own. But then, when you talk to other people, you realize, you know what? Like looking for work is not meant to be done as a solo activity. I mean, it takes a village to do pretty much
Yeah.
everything in our life right
Yeah.
now. Looking for work is one of those things. Like lean into your village,
Yes.
bring those people close to you,
Yeah.
and the rest becomes a little bit easier to deal with.
Mhm. Yeah. These are great, great, great tips. Thank you so much. Okay, I was going to say, so you offer a free chapter of your book.
I do.
I love that.
Yes.
So it's at your website,
Yes.
mschafercoaching.ca.
That's right. Yeah. So if you click on the My Book tab of my website, you can do two things actually right there. It's kind of like a one-stop shop. You can, first of all, get a downloadable free chapter. So if you want
Love
to
it.
try out the book before you buy it and you just want to get a flavor of it, you can get a free chapter from my site. You can also order the book directly from there. So if you feel ready, like, yes, I would like to order the book, you can still visit my website and you can actually order the book.
It's a cute website
And for
too.
some of you too, like if you are like, let's say you're struggling with your job search and you just really need to have a conversation, you'd like to talk to somebody. I do offer a complimentary discovery call. It's 30 minutes in length. And again, from my website, you can
Love
sign
that.
up for that
Love
and
that.
talk
Love that.
to me, talk about like, how's your job search going? And, sometimes even just talking to somebody can expose some new possibilities there.
Oh, for sure. And just bouncing, their thoughts off of you, a coach is just such a, yeah. Reach out,
Absolutely.
people. Everyone
Yes.
listening, job seekers, go to Michelle's website. It's Schafer, SCHAFER, coaching.ca.
Excellent.
And this has just been a delight. Now, something that we do ask all of our guests.
Yes.
We do ask all of our guests, tell us one thing that you're passionate about or love to do that no one really knows this part about you.
Excellent. Yeah. Kind of like the fun fact, right?
Yeah, fun fact.
So a fun fact about me is I really enjoy adventure. And so I have sought out opportunities to pursue adventure in my past. I still have other adventures I
Like
want to take in the
what?
future. So I have climbed Mount Kilimanjaro.
Come on.
Yes. Hard
Could
as
not.
anything.
Could
Oh
not.
my
Just the thought
gosh.
of it's making me sweat.
Oh, that
And looking
was
down. Oh my gosh.
it was forever ago, but I mean, just such a memorable experience. And then 2 years ago, I went and joined an expedition and climbed the Inca Trail going to Machu Picchu. So I spent some time in Peru. Now, I love adventure, but altitude that comes with adventure doesn't necessarily love me, I found, as I age and like it's harder on the body, but
Yeah.
the experience is always life altering in
Yeah.
many ways. So yeah, that's something that I do. Like clients that work with me generally don't know that about me. So that's my fun fact.
I love that you still do that. I was more adventurous when I was much, much younger in my 20s, jumping out of planes and Paris, all that stuff. I did all that, but now I'm like, oh no.
It's like the
No,
fear,
no.
right? Like, oh my
Huh?
gosh, I can't
All
do
the what
that.
ifs, oh my gosh.
Yeah,
Yeah.
limiting
Oh my gosh.
beliefs, right? We throw up those
Limiting beliefs.
roadblocks.
And I think too, it just comes with age,
It
I'm just like,
does.
no, thanks, I'm good.
Oh my
But
gosh,
that's
yeah.
amazing. I cannot believe you climbed Mount Kilimanjaro.
Yeah, it was,
Wow.
I mean, it
How long
was
did it
not
take?
easy. It was, so it was
Like from
6 days of the ascent and then the descent. Most of it was the ascent because you are like the altitude. A lot, there's some people die on Kili actually
I
because of the
know
altitude sickness. So it's crazy.
it's
And
not for
so
wimps. No.
No. And
So you went with the guided group and everything? And
I did, yeah. And went with a friend of mine. So, the two of us have that fun experience to share together. And it really was altering for me because I realized the limiting belief of, oh, I can't do this. And I remember when there was a point in time where I was really sick on that climb. And I said to my guide, I said, I'm done. I like, turn me around. Like, I'm done. And he looked at me, and they're trained to know if you are like going to die up there.
Right.
And he looked at me, he looked at my eyes, he looked at my fingernails. There are all these telltale signs.
Okay.
And he looked at me and he said, you're not going to die. Let's go. And so, because
like,
he knew
okay.
I wanted to do it, right? Like, he knew I could do it.
Yeah.
And I did. But I needed him. I couldn't do this by myself. And the big realization I had from that trip was I also, like, it was admission to myself. I have these limiting beliefs and I throw up these roadblocks.
Right.
And yet I can get through them. Like, it was the resilience that came from it, which, for job seekers too, there's a resilience that comes from
it's climbing a mountain.
It's climbing a mountain.
Yes.
It is. Yeah. Looking for work is kind of like climbing a mountain, and it's hard and it's exhausting, and you have to take some breaks along the way, and you need a guide. Like, oftentimes having a guide, a conversation partner is helpful, but you can do it.
What a great, that's a
really
good
good
analogy there. I'm thinking now, you know what your next book is going to be, right?
What's that?
All of your adventures. Like, it could be a guidebook. You're going to do Mount Kilimanjaro, do this and don't do this. Yeah.
Oh, so many things. Well, it was interesting when I came back from Machu Picchu, again, having just an amazing guide. I wrote on LinkedIn for weeks after that. It was all leadership lessons. Because I do leadership coaching as well as career transition. And there were just so many leadership lessons like baked into that whole trip, and the personal lessons as well, like relating to resilience. So, it's amazing. We go through these experiences, and these like lessons are right in front of us, so really interesting.
Well, I'm impressed, cool. A little intimidated by you now, but I'm impressed.
Let's go climbing, Erin. Let's go do it.
I will watch. I will be down there cheering you on.
Cheering. That's right.
We're your biggest cheerleader
in our lives.
Well, thank you so much for being a guest. This has just been a great show. And I just, there's so much good information on here. And I really appreciate you visiting and chatting with me.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. And just such a great conversation. Really enjoyed it.
I know, me too. Thanks again for listening to the Office Latte Podcast. You can find us anywhere you listen to your podcast. You can follow the podcast on Instagram and TikTok at Executive Resumes, or subscribe to our YouTube channel, Office Latte Podcast. If you have any career questions or conversations you want us to talk about, send them to officelattepodcast@gmail.com, and we'll answer them in an upcoming show. Have a great week and stay caffeinated.